Good afternoon. We'll just give it a minute here while people join. It seems like some people are popping in and out, so we might have some connectivity problems. Give you guys a minute and we will start here, yeah, in about a minute. Okay. We have a shorter webinar today, so I'm going to get started. Um, so, sorry about this. There we go. Today is the 25th anniversary of celebrating the heritage, diverse cultures, and outstanding achievements of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. On National Indigenous Peoples Day, we are starting by acknowledging that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 nations, the Piikani, Siksika, Kainai, Stoney Nakoda, and Tsuut'ina First Nations. We acknowledge the ancestral territory of the Siksika Sitapi, the Blackfoot Confederacy, the home of Métis Region Number 3. The content we're sharing today was funded by the province of Alberta, working in partnership with the Government of Canada to provide employment support programs and services. Opinions shared in this webinar are petrolized and do not necessarily reflect those of the government. We welcome you to share any of the content presented today with your networks. And to start with, I'll do a little bit of a tech check to make sure that everyone can hear me and that you all know how to use Zoom. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A box and a chat box. Feel free to put any questions or comments into those comment boxes. As well, you can raise your hand if you're having any technical difficulties. Today's session is being recorded and will be published in the next day on Petrolized's YouTube account and then shared on our website and our social media accounts. So if you miss anything, you can definitely check there. You can also reach out to either Lisa or myself if there are any questions. So this project started last year, and we were looking at understanding the careers available in the petrochemical and refining sectors in Alberta. So to start with, a little bit of a chemistry lesson. The petrochemical sector includes industrial chemical manufacturing, which is the production of base chemicals. Those are the companies that transform raw natural resources into organic and inorganic chemicals. And then the synthetic resins and fibers. Those are the companies who use the base chemicals and then polymerize them into synthetic resins and fibers. Sometimes the companies buy basic chemicals from other companies, and sometimes they produce them internally. And then we're also including the agricultural chemical manufacturing. So that's the production of fertilizers and pesticides. Fertilizer companies use raw resources and create a chemical reaction to produce their desired product. And in Canada, pesticide companies are primarily involved in blending, not producing the active ingredients. And then refining is the process that separates crude petroleum into components through techniques like cracking and distillation. So in 2020, the petrochemical industry employment represented 14% of total energy employment, and it was concentrated in Ontario, Alberta, and Quebec. So Alberta had 23% of the petrochemical employment, and refining represented 8% of the total energy and was concentrated in Ontario, Alberta, and Quebec as well. And Alberta was 19% of the refining employment. In Alberta, activities are happening in the industrial region located in northeast of Edmonton. That region is looking at a petrochemicals capacity of ethane cracking, producing polyethylene plastic, sterylene monomer, and nitrogen fertilizers. And then in central Alberta and Joffre, there is some petrochemical activity around ethane crackers operated by Nova Chemicals and Dow. And they produce polyethylene plastics, resins, molyethylene glycol, and other oligomers. Pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. But and then in Medicine Hat, there's a petrochemicals cluster in southeast Alberta, and they produce methanol and nitrogen fertilizers. And then in Grande Prairie, there's an upcoming petrochemicals cluster that is still seeking investment opportunities, but has an emphasis on the development of methane-based petrochemicals. And then Yellowhead County, which is by Edson and Hinton, Alberta, has an established oil, gas, and other hydrocarbon sectors. So I'm going to pass it over to Lisa Polio, our project manager for occupations, to share a bit about some of the new occupations.
Great, thanks, Brianne. So I'm just going to share my screen here and show some of the resources on our Careers in Oil and Gas website.
Feel free, if you have any questions as we're going through, to add them to the Q&A or the chat boxes.
Okay, so this is our website. I'm just going to walk us through our career directory. So here we have, I believe it's 155 different occupational profiles, and it's continuing to grow and increase as we do different projects. So today we're just going to focus on the petrochemical and refining area here. So when you come to the directory, you can just click on petrochemicals and refining, search, and it'll pull up the different occupational profiles that are related in this industries. So we kind of break it up into business and operations support, engineers, environmental and regulatory and stakeholder engagement, geoscience, IT roles, laborers, operators, technicians and technologists, and trades. So I'll just click on process operator here. So this is what one of the profiles looks like. The top, it kind of gives the category, sectors involved, education required, what kind of environment you would be working in, a little summary about the career. Each of these are expandable. So we have the work activities that would be involved in this career, qualifications and experience, if you needed different training, licensing, anything like that, competencies, in the job, and related industries. So each of the profiles will have these. There's also on the right hand side here related careers. So if this is something that you're interested in, you might want to think of other jobs that could be similar or related, and also names that might be used for this type of career. You can download a snapshot of this profile to be able to kind of get all the information on one page. And you can also share the job profile. So if you wanted to email it to yourself or share it with someone on any of the social channels, you're able to do it that way. So I'm going to also show, so yeah, you can search through, look at the different ones there. I'm going to try one more just to give you guys an example. We have the policy analyst. So here on the right hand side, if there's any jobs posted for this, like for a particular profile, it'll come up right here. So it's pulling jobs from Job Bank primarily across Canada. So you can view the job right from the website. And this is a researcher for natural and applied sciences at Red Deer College. So you can go to it directly from the website. So that's also for jobs that are available. If you are a job seeker and you might not necessarily know what kind of job you do want to work in the industry, there is a self-assessment tool. So you can click on this. It'll ask you a series of, I think it's 9 questions. So I can just click to give you guys an example. So if you have high school, it's showing still 53 matches there. So you can pick what kind of job you might be interested in, what type of career. And then it'll continue to show you the matches on the bottom. So I'll just click no preference for our example here. And then it can give us the 14 careers that it would match you with potentially. And okay, so you can see your results. So here it'll just kind of give you a summary. You can click on each of the jobs right from here to take you to the profile to learn more about that career. So that's the self-assessment tool. Here's the job board directly if you want to go right to it. So currently across Canada, it's showing 305 jobs. You can search by keywords or a specific province if that's where you're looking for jobs and get an idea of some of the available postings. The next section I wanted to focus on is our news section here. So this kind of has our up-to-date current information, what's happening in the industry. I'm going to focus on our Day in the Life series. So in the past year, we did a Day in the Life series where we kind of interviewed different people with unique or different jobs in the industry people might not have necessarily thought of as a job in the oil and gas industry. So you can click on any of these when you get to the profile. It kind of explains a typical day, how they got into it, what they enjoy about their job, that kind of thing. So that's a neat way to learn about different careers in the industry as well. We've also done a podcast in the last, I guess, year as well. So it's called Not Your Grandpa's Energy Industry. We have 16 episodes with a real diverse and interesting group of people, from people that have transitioned into career, oil and gas, or perhaps out of it into a different pivot of a career. And we also have some of our Day in the Life people featured in our podcast as well. So there's some really interesting listens. They're about 15 to 20 minutes, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. So that is some of the features on our website. So I will stop sharing and pass it back to Brianne.
So in addition to continuing to profile different careers and have more day in the lives and podcast episodes, we will be launching a new website this summer. And the website will be taking all of the information that we've gathered from various projects and presenting it in a new way. We will be including videos and animations on how the evolving energy industry works, information on employment demand across the industry, and a transferability assessment tool that takes some of this knowledge on some of the adjacent industries to traditional oil and gas, like petrochemicals, renewables, industrial construction, digitization and automation, and clean tech, and looks at how you can actually transfer your career into these adjacent sectors. If you are interested in finding out more about when the new site is launched, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter that's at the bottom of our website on careersinoilandgas.com, and follow us on social media. And by some miracle, we're actually running ahead of schedule today. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or Q&A, and Lisa and I will do our best to address them. And if you are interested in more of the employment information about petrochemicals and some of the data and numbers around the roles, the genders, the age groups that are hired in the petrochemicals and refining sectors. There is a webinar tomorrow that will dive into more of that labor force data. So I'm not seeing any Q&A. Oh, chat is disabled. Okay. It's my Zoom abilities are showing. You can type in questions in the Q&A, and I will share them if that works better for people. No, one here. Are there specific positions that are in high demand currently? That is a great question, and I had that information up here. Give me 1 second to pull up. Oh. There are a number of careers that are higher in demand than others, and some of those are related to the other industries' hiring needs. So, for example, IT occupations are always in high demand across oil and gas, as that's an area where the industry is competing a lot with other sectors that may be more desirable to new entrants. So that is one example of the area that or one of the careers that I know popped up when I was looking at it earlier today. But let me. So other areas that have high transferability and demand are some of the process manufacturing, some of the control room positions, some of the roles in predictive, preventative, and corrective maintenance, some of the operating processes and procedures roles, like in health and safety. As I said, the tech jobs, especially related to troubleshooting, the optimization in terms of some of the higher tech roles as well as energy efficiency. And because a lot of these operations are still being built, there's a lot of roles involved in planning and establishing those policies and structures. Something to note is that a lot of the operations do involve shift work and may include rotational work arrangements, and that it's a very highly safety sensitive environment, as you would expect in a plant. So, the wages and benefits and sort of the employee value proposition pieces are very similar to oil and gas. So the stakeholder and indigenous roles, some of those partnership agreements and benefit impact roles, the design and engineering, as I said, as they are being built, and the regulatory pieces as well, as the new plants are being, I guess, pitched to investors to be built and being built themselves. If you have any further questions about the occupation specifically, please, you can reach out to me, or you can also check our other website on careertransitions.ca. And I just updated that resource last week with some of the occupations in demand. We have another question here about how a job seeker or career counselor would use the information in the profiles. Lisa?
Sure. So yes, if you're looking at the profile, when it breaks up kind of those work activities, the competencies, the qualifications, that can definitely be something like if a job seeker came to a career counselor and they did an assessment of, what kind of skills they might have transferred from previous employment or their training that they've done before and how that would relate to the job. And for employers, if they are posting, I think it can be really nice tool for them to be able to use to kind of have all that information in one spot. So if, they do need someone that has, if it's certain technology skills or soft skills, which seem to be more common and required these days, it kind of just breaks it up nicely for that employer to see what it looks like. And that can be something they can directly put right into their posting. And it could be a beneficial tool for them, like in the hiring and interviewing process. Anything to add, Brianne?
Um, no, I think you can also download the profiles, and that will include more work activities if that's something that's of interest. You can find out more about some of the the website, I guess, shows the top work activities, but some of the details and the ins and outs of the jobs can be found with if you download them. And then checking out the day in the lives, I think, is another really beneficial way to get to know more about certain occupations. I think we all know if you can talk to somebody, a real person in that job, you find out more about what the job is really like.
Yeah. Yeah. And the podcast too is interesting because it can kind of just be a chat about things that they learned once they got into that role, or how they might have started in one role and it changed their career path, how it kind of went, which can often happen.
Yeah. And I guess on that note, if there's anyone that we should be profiling or that we could feature on our podcast, please do reach out to us. We're always looking to highlight more people with different career backgrounds and in unique situations.
Mm.
If that is it for questions, I will launch our only poll, I guess. And it's just asking if you found this valuable. And I would ask if you answer no or unsure, if you could just let us know what other information you would like. Other than the labor force data that we're sharing tomorrow, we don't have any future webinars booked. So if there's something you'd be interested in finding out more about, we're all ears. So it does look like most of you found it valuable, so that's great to hear. And thank you again to the province of Alberta for funding. We do have a couple other projects on the books other than that new website that I mentioned coming this summer. We will also be releasing some information on the well site decommissioning process and what occupations and careers people can expect to be in demand in the short term, medium term, and long term. And then Lisa and I are working on a career fair for people interested in working in the services sector specifically. And that will be at the end of September. So if you're interested in either of those pieces, please do make sure you subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media, as those are the best ways to be the first to find out about upcoming projects and events.
Yes. And it will be free, and you will actually get a chance to chat directly with employers that are hiring. So
Yes, that's a good
valuable.
the everything that we produce is I shouldn't say everything all the time, but as far as we can do it, everything that we produce is free. So we also have virtual reality pieces that are free, the job fair that's coming up in September. You can also take a look at our last career exploration forum that we had in January now. And that is, all those sessions are available on our YouTube channel for people to take a look at. We really aim to make our stuff as widely available as possible. So hopefully that is helpful. And it looks like everyone is done with our poll. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for joining us today. And hopefully you can join me again tomorrow when we chat with our analyst about some of the data. Thanks very much and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.